Hi, my name is Angela Wilcox. I am the IB coordinator here at Hopkins North Junior High, and I want to give you some information about IB scores as your ninth grader approaches their first grading period that will be on their high school transcript. So I'm going to do this as efficiently as I can and then ask you to follow up with me by email, and we can set up a time to meet if that would be helpful. All right. So remember that in each of their 8 subject areas, they get scored on 4 different criteria. They get formative scores, so that's feedback to help them learn. It's like going to a sports practice and getting coaching from your coach about how to do a particular skill, maybe in isolation, or learning how to play a musical instrument and doing your scales and getting some feedback. And then in the summative assessment, they're putting all of that practice together and applying it in a real world setting. There are 4 criteria that they're getting this kind of feedback on, and it's lots and lots of words on this. So I'm going to give you this quick and dirty snapshot of what these mean. Criterion A in all of our subject areas, for the most part, language acquisition is a little bit different. That's like Spanish and French. But for the most part, in criterion A, we're learning the vocabulary, the skills, and the knowledge we need to be able to understand this subject area. So, science words, math words. This is sort of traditional school where we're memorizing vocab, learning facts about the subject. Criterion B, we're developing our skills. We're going deeper, we're investigating, looking for patterns, doing research. Now we're taking all that knowledge and trying to expand on it and connect it. And in criterion C, we're producing something with it. We're giving a speech, we're creating a performance, we're communicating, creating a solution, somehow producing and putting something new together with our knowledge and our research. And criterion D, we're evaluating, we're judging, we're analyzing, looking for feedback about our own performance, trying to make it better, making sure it makes sense. This is just the learning cycle. This is the cycle every human goes through when they're learning something new. We learn the new thing, we try to figure it out, then we try to do something with it, and then we say, did that work? What could we do better? That's what your kids are doing in all 8 of their classes. That's what we're giving them feedback on. So hold that in mind. We're going to look at, and then our scores, as you have been seeing, in on an individual assignment could be a 1 through an 8, from very limited all the way up to high quality, frequently innovative work. Remember that it's okay to start out, especially earlier in the year, in these lower bands as they're being introduced to new knowledge, new ways of thinking. I've never done chemistry before. I don't understand any of this. That's okay. Take the feedback, engage in the formatives. You can grow up to the level of mastery, which is a 5 in all of your subject areas if you stay engaged and work with your teachers and you're learning over time. So when we get to the end of the semester for our ninth graders, we're going to assign a best fit score for each of those 4 criteria. So A, B, C, and D. We're going to look at their scores. If they started out at a 2 and then they had a 4 and a 3 and then they had 2 6s and their summative assessment score was a 6, their final criterion A score would be a 6. They've showed consistent growth over time. So we're looking at the summatives, we're using those formative and anything we've seen in class as supporting data to help us see where a student was able to grow to over time. We're not adding these up and averaging them because we're not interested in holding them back for the early learning that they needed to do in order to grow to this score. We're describing what do they know and what can they do at this point at the end of the year or at the end of the semester. So they would end with a 6. We're going to do that for each of the 4 criteria. If they had a 6, a 5, a 4, and a 5, their final course score would be a 5. So let's look at how we do that. There's something called grading boundaries in the IB that help us assign that final score to make sure that it's consistent both with those descriptions of, how far has a student come, and also that they're consistent across IB schools around the world. So I'm going to take my criterion A, B, C, and D, those numbers, and I'm going to add those up. There are 20, they add up to 24. I'm going to look at this IB grading boundaries chart. This comes from the IB, and again, it's consistent. It's used in the 150 countries where IB is delivered. And we can find the 24 here, which is a 6. So that would be your scholar's final score on that, on their semester long course. Now, just note, remember that individual assignments can go up to an 8. We might see like a level of excellence and innovation that is absolutely extraordinary on an individual assignment, but that's not, we don't ever expect that students will function at that level of excellence across the board, um, for every assignment in an entire course. So the final score, the highest score they can earn is a 7. The IB scoring boundaries are not averages. They reflect the general grade descriptors. So it's a score that actually points us toward a description of what a student knows and can do. So if they have a 7, a 6, a 7, and a 7, their final score would be a 6, which mathematically makes you go, well, wait, I don't understand that. But if we look at the language in these descriptors, we can see that in a 7, that frequently innovative, consistently, and frequently, means that they should have a 7 in all 4 of those criterion across the board. That's where we would seek that consistency. A 6 is also an excellent score, and just for your information, would translate into a 4.0 grade or GPA weight. So a 6 is also as good as you can do in terms of your GPA, but it just doesn't have that same consistency and frequency. Um, so that's why they would have a 6 instead of a 7. All right. If you have questions, which you very well may, you may want to wait until you see your scholars' scores on their semester long courses. Or you may feel free to email me and we can set up a time to jump into a Google Meet or on the phone or meet face to face to talk more about this. I'm really happy to talk about it with you. Hope this helps and hope your scholar is thriving.